Hello and welcome to Pocket of Inspiration, where we create better versions of ourselves. Now in today's episode we have a very special young man and his name is Rosh. Rosh, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Great. For those who might not know who you are, please share more about yourself and what are your key motivations in life?
Sure. So at the end of the day, I think I'm just a person that likes to help people. Whether it's through the Masterclass Institute, whether it's through our growth agency, Social Rank Media, whether it's through Franklin Covey, really we like to focus on people development. Whether we're helping you grow your business, whether we're helping you grow as an individual, that's really what drives us and my company at the end of the day.
Great. Some of them, people resonate with you with business, but you're also a medical doctor.
Yes.
Well, tell us more about the transition and so on.
Sure. So I graduated from med school about 7 years ago, and really understood that if I wanted to create real change in the world, and being a medical doctor I think is one of the most noble professions out there, have utmost respect for people in the healthcare industry and healthcare practitioners around the world. But I thought about approaching it from a more sort of macro level. You look at these great men around the world, and you think of Bill Gates and the Mark Zuckerbergs and the Steve Jobs, and you realize, these guys can help the world and push the world forward in a way because they've created these corporations, and they're able to take that revenue and build the hospitals, build the schools, fly in the humanitarian aid, fund the research. And that's really my goal now, to be able to assist by creating these revenue generating systems, and that's really what the businesses are. It's really a means to an end.
Right. So one of the services that you offer is by you allow businesses to get their messages out there via social media.
Yes.
But there's a way to do social media right, and what is the right or the keys to a successful social media?
Great question, and I think a lot of us have approached social media using sort of the old school approach, right? Which is whatever you put on TV or whatever you put on the radio, whatever you put in the newspaper, people have sort of taken that and just transplanted it onto Facebook or Instagram or YouTube or Twitter or any one of these platforms, without understanding the psychographics of who they're targeting, without understanding the demographics of who they're targeting, without even understanding the platform. So look, we like to keep things simple as possible. And what I always tell people is to focus on KLT. And it's a concept that's gained a lot of popularity over the past few years. KLT, which is to know, like, and trust. And if you understand that concept and you apply that to social media, it's going to put you head and shoulders above everybody else. Because first of all, in order for someone to purchase from you, they've got to trust you, right? They've got to trust you. Before they can trust you, they've got to like you or at least respect you, right? And in order to do that, they've got to know you, right? So that's where the KLT comes from. It's understanding, how do you use the platforms? How do you use social media to get people to KLT, and then they purchase?
Okay, so people are accustomed to doing social media or advertising the traditional way.
Yes.
But what are the mental shift that a business owner must have to really be successful on social media? Because times have changed. People don't really go on so much watch television as before, and read the newspaper and all that. What is the mental shift that you must understand to make sure you conquer social media? So
I think it boils down to two things. Number one, humanization. And I think a lot of us have forgotten that. Social media has done some very interesting things for individuals and companies. It has completely killed some companies. And it has completely allowed businesses and individuals to completely blossom. Why is that? Because the ones who blossom, they've been able to show their vulnerabilities. They've been able to show the human side. And people, again, know, like, and trust. Remember, we see these big brands out there. We're not really connecting with the brand. We're connecting with the people behind the brand. We're connecting with the people associated with the brand. It's why when you look at a commercial on TV, you don't just see a brand name. It's always centering around individuals enjoying a moment together or using the product together, right? And that's really what you need to focus on. You need to have that mental shift if social media is going to work for you. So be human. I always tell people it's more, I think, in the DNA of our grandparents to be successful today, because they understood what it was to be human. You know, when people walk into your shop, to be able to greet them by their name makes a difference. Versus just being a typical consumer and you're cashing out and you're this faceless person and it doesn't really matter to you. Social media gives you that connection, but it gives you that connection at scale. So that's number one. It's a mental shift of understanding that, you know, the fancy newspaper ad doesn't necessarily work as well as just opening your phone, shooting a video, talking about your product, and throwing it out there, because that will resonate with people. It's honest. It feels genuine. That's one. And number two is something I often talk about, which is promotion versus production. So there's a lot of social media gurus out there, right? And there's a lot of folks out there who say, you gotta be on Twitter, you gotta be on YouTube, you gotta be on Instagram, you gotta be on LinkedIn, you gotta be on Facebook. And what ends up happening for any of the aspiring entrepreneurs who are listening, it often feels like you're on this hamster wheel. And you're just running and you're running and you're running and you're stretching yourself thin, and you're posting on Facebook and you're replying to somebody on Twitter, and you've got to get that video out on YouTube and you've got to reply to that comment, and it gets difficult. Now, when you understand the algorithms that Facebook uses, that Instagram uses, you understand that they will incentivize people who get the most amount of social traction, the most amount of engagement, likes, comments. So it's a flawed model to think that every single day I need to be posting on every single platform. That's where we talk about production. Most people have this concept where they think they need to be where they need to be producing every single day. When the truth is, we need to put that model on pause and instead promote what we're doing every single day. So instead of coming up with fresh content every single day, you're like, oh shoot, it's 7 p.m. I didn't post anything on Facebook today, right? Why not hold and promote the content that you take your time to produce and put it on Facebook ads, share it in Facebook groups, tag relevant people as an ethical way to tag people, not in a spammy kind of way, which a lot of people do, right? And really promote that, because now you have one piece of content that more people will get a chance to see because you're promoting it, instead of not giving it a chance to be promoted, and then tomorrow you produce something new. And then those people have forgotten about that piece of content. You're not doing anything with that piece of content. And then the next day you create another piece of content. So it's about, and when I share that with people, oftentimes people find that refreshing.
That is refreshing to me, because I'm a content creator, and I'm always thinking, oh God, I have to publish this video, and then I think to myself, why not promote the videos I did before? I'm sure a lot of persons probably did not see that video, so that would be cool.
Absolutely. And look, when you understand how these platforms work, and the reason I mentioned Facebook so much in Guyana is because that's the platform most of us use.
Yes.
You know, I've seen in the past 5 years a user base, an active user base of about 80,000 go all the way up to 340,000. You know, that's kind of the number today. About 340,000 active users on Facebook in Guyana. That's a big number. That's a lot of people to reach. And then those people have other folks in their networks outside of Guyana, right? In the Caribbean, in the US. And that's why I always tell people to look at the analytics on your fan page. Look at Facebook Insights. A lot of people don't pay attention to that, and it's really important, because then you get to see, I'm getting a lot of fans from Demerara, Mahika, or I'm getting a lot of fans from Barbice, or I'm getting a lot of fans from Bartica, and that starts to tell you, well, those are folks that are paying attention, and maybe you want to target those individuals alone and go deep with them, maybe, right? Or maybe you notice that you got a couple hundred fans from New York. Interesting. You didn't target New York, but obviously some people, the message resonated, they shared it, and people from New York are engaging with your content. So knowing your numbers and understanding your numbers in social media is very important. You know, people always in the social media world, they talk about ROI, return on investment, right? It's really important to understand what you're tracking as your return on investment. The mistake a lot of a lot of young entrepreneurs make is they say, you know, Rosh, I've got $10,000 or I've got $20,000 and I put it into Facebook ads, but I didn't get any sales. And it's really because they haven't used those funds strategically. It's really because they don't know who they're targeting specifically.
Target market.
You gotta bring it back to basics. You gotta understand your target market. What a lot of people do is they'll put that money into Facebook and they'll click boost, and it'll go out to everybody. Right? Now, everybody isn't going to resonate with your message. Who are you targeting? Are you speaking their language? Do you understand their pain points? What books are they reading? What shows are they tuning into? All of these are data sets that you can use to tell Facebook, target those individuals. For example, you know, a lot of folks promote to business owners, not people interested in business, but actual business owners. A lot of folks don't know on Facebook the data sets are in there. So if you wanted to show up only in front of business owners, you could do that. So instead of paying to show up in front of 100,000 people, you'll show up to the 20,000 business owners who live in Georgetown. And that's powerful. Because they always say, if you target everybody, you target nobody. Especially in this day and age of data and hyper-segmentation. Right? So it's important to use Guru Google, use Tutor Twitter, use Professor Pinterest. Go out there and use those resources to learn more about these platforms. So of course, they can always reach out to us and we're willing to help as well.
Right. So businesses have various options of promoting themselves. And they're like the traditional way, newspaper,
Yes.
billboards, and so on. Do this really work still? Are they still relevant? And why they don't really resonate so much with people nowadays?
Yeah, it's a really great question. I always say it's not that I'm telling individuals that social media or digital marketing is better than traditional media. And it's important to understand that. It's not that traditional media is better than social media either. It comes down to what we just spoke about, your target audience. If you really think about your target audience, you have to understand, where are they? Am I targeting the 50-year-old male who is a business owner? Maybe he's not on Facebook. Maybe if I'm trying to reach him on Facebook, I get no response. But maybe he's the guy that's picking up the newspaper every day and going through it. So maybe that's where I need to be. Maybe. What I can tell you, based on the data and based on the trends, are that people are consuming less newspapers, they're watching less TV, they're paying less attention to the billboards, and where they are focusing is on their phone, day in and day out. So it's one of the easiest, it's one of the fastest ways to get in front of people. And that's why I always say, for young entrepreneurs out there, launch what I call an MVP. Okay, this is a concept that was made popular in the book The Lean Startup. And the MVP stands for minimum viable product. It's the bare bones version of what you aim to bring to market. Right? It's a simple landing page, it's a simple graphic, it's just, hey guys, here's what I offer. And if people respond to that, well then you've got something. See, the mistake a lot of individuals make in Guyana is that they'll invest into launching an entire storefront, they'll invest into doing these huge billboards, they'll spend heaps of money doing massive fancy brochures and flyers, and then they'll have this big launch, this grand launch, this mega launch, and your friends and family will come and you'll feel good about the foot traffic in the store. And then 2 weeks later, no one walks in. 2 weeks later, they're deploying what I call hope marketing. Right? Hope marketing, where you're just hoping somebody comes through the door. Right? But what if you approached it in a different way? What if you approached it and you spent a fraction of the investment, you created a good business card, you created a very simple website, you got your fan page up and going, and it looked good, it looked clean, and you put $10 US into Facebook ads, or $20 US into Facebook ads, and then, based on the response you got, based on the sales that you're making, now you'd say, I think I'm onto something here. Maybe 6 months after doing this, after I've got some cash flow, maybe now I should invest in creating a storefront for my store. I can't tell you how many students have come through the masterclass and have created entire businesses purely from their computer screen with nothing more than a fan page, because they understand where they're getting their products, they understand their target audience, they understand how to get in front of them and what kind of content to create to get those people excited.
All right, so Rosh, you work with a lot of business owners. You help them to promote their business and so on. But before they came to you, they probably experienced some problems and they were not doing social media right. What are the common mistakes you've seen businesses are doing, and how can they rectify those problems?
Great question. I think I always say, before you invite someone over to your home, you probably tidy it up. You probably make sure it looks a certain way before people walk into your house, right?
Yes.
You don't invite people over and you've got plates all over the place and shoes all about. You want to make sure it's neat and tidy. And that's a big mistake that I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs make in Guyana, which is they're inviting people to their Facebook page and it's a mess. It's not tidy. They've got old posts on there. They've opened it up to where people can tag the page. So there's a bunch of spam posts on there that have nothing to do with the business. There's no welcome message pinned to the top of the page. And this is one of the principles we talk about at the masterclass, which is to control the narrative. It's very important that you take ownership of your brand so you're able to represent what your brand is all about. Right? When you open up your page to everybody and anybody, then anyone can post anything on your page, right? And unless you've got good management or good moderation happening on your page, sometimes that doesn't work in your favor. Sometimes. Images are really important as well. I can't tell you how many times I've gone over to a fan page and it's missing a profile picture. Or it's got a timeline cover that's old and the quality is poor and it's stretched and it's not made to fit the dimensions of the Facebook timeline cover. Immediately, subconsciously, people land on that and they go, this doesn't look professional, this doesn't feel right. So images are so important. And I always tell people, use tools that you've got available online. There's lots of great tools online.
Yes.
One of my favorite ones is Canva.
I love that.
Yeah, we've been pushing that and telling people all about Canva.
It's really amazing.
It's powerful. But if you're able to have that, if you have access to a graphic designer, you can hire someone who could do something a bit more customized for you, then go for it. It's only going to make you look good. And in addition to looking good and making sure you've got the branding right with good, clean images, you want to make sure that there's frequency. I see a lot of folks who will post something on their page and then 6 months later they'll post something else, and then 6 weeks later they'll post something else, and there's no strategy to what they post and how they post. And again, people are looking at that and going, this doesn't really look like there's any sort of a consistency here. So I wonder if their product or service is going to have that level of consistency. Yeah.
Awesome. So for business owners, they might be considering, should I really create a fan page for myself or use my own personal profile to promote my services or my products? What would you advise? And is it best for a particular person? It might not be ideal to have a fan page, and from others it might need to have a fan page. Tell us more about that.
So this is another great question. You're full of great questions. And here's why. You've got to understand the algorithm that Facebook uses. Okay, and it's called, they don't really refer to it as much as the EdgeRank algorithm, but that's the algorithm that Facebook would use to dictate what you see in your newsfeed. So you don't see every post from every friend on your personal profile, do you?
Yeah.
You've liked hundreds of pages, maybe thousands of pages. You don't see every post from every single one of those fan pages. There's an algorithm that dictates what shows up in your newsfeed. The EdgeRank for a personal profile is always higher than that of a fan page. So there are benefits to using your personal profile, not as a business, as yourself, to let people know, let your network know what you do, what you're all about. But you've got to balance it. Because if all you talk about is business, then you come across as spammy.
Yeah.
Right? If all you talk about is politics, then you might scare some people away. Now, if all you have is party pics, but you're also a serious business owner, people might also look at that and go, something's not right.
Yes.
Right? So you want to make sure you use your personal profile for business, you educate your network on what you do, but have a healthy mix, have a good mix. Show that you're human again. So it comes back to humanization. Right? Now here's the issue. you're limited by how many people you can have in your network.
That's so true.
You're limited, and it's 5,000. Once you've hit 5,000, it becomes hard. You've got to figure out who you're going to remove, who you're going to add again, and then on top of that, let's say you max out 5,000 friends.
Yeah.
You can only receive 1,000 pending requests. Beyond that, people won't even be able to send you a friend request. So it creates some issues, and that's why we recommend the fan page. The fan page has no limit, Ruth, none whatsoever. The fan page, you can have millions of fans. The fan page you can now use to advertise on Facebook, and that's the secret sauce of Facebook. The ability to tap into Facebook ads, as I mentioned earlier, are one of the fastest, cheapest, quickest ways to get your message out there to people. You'd be shocked at what $5 can do on Facebook. Truly, especially with video. Especially with video.
Yeah,
Because
more conversion.
absolutely.
People respond more to videos than pictures. I observe.
Absolutely. And,
Yes.
and not just the response alone, the engagement is great, but just in terms of visibility. Because you've got to realize that you've got Facebook over here and you've got Google over here, all right, and they hit heads. These are these two tech giants. And people forget that Google owns YouTube.
Yes.
All right? Facebook is trying to be its own video platform, which is why over the past 12 months, over the past 24 months, you've seen so many videos on Facebook, more than ever before.
Yes.
Right? You've seen them move towards live, Facebook Live, which was really the earlier version of Facebook Live was Google Hangouts on YouTube. Right? So it's a space they're moving into. So if you're smart, you're going to be paying attention to these trends. You're going to say, okay, Facebook is actually giving me more reach right now for videos. I need to take those same videos, throw them onto Facebook, and put $2 into it, or $5 into it, and make sure I target my audience, and you'd be shocked at the response that you get.
Cool. All right. So, what are some really cool tools that an entrepreneur can use to up their social media game?
Another great question. I think there's no limit of amazing software out there, but it all depends on how you use it. Again, I'm very careful about recommending software because I don't want people to be that hamster on a hamster wheel. Oh, I've got this software and that software and this software. Let's simplify. Let's keep it simple. For Facebook ads, you can use Facebook Ads Manager. You don't need to use any fancy software. There's already a built-in ads manager in Facebook. Facebook.com/ADS. That's it. For graphics, I mentioned earlier, Canva.com. Absolutely amazing. They've got pre-made templates, and you can create all sorts of custom images on there. So use that for images. Let's say you've got Twitter and LinkedIn and all these different platforms, but you don't want to have to log into every single platform. Maybe you want to pull it all in, and that's where you get something called dashboards. One of the most popular ones out there is Hootsuite, okay, where you can pull everything in, and it's free. It's free for the basic version. But you can pull everything in and control all your social media platforms from one single source. So it's helpful.
Saves
Right?
you time.
Absolutely, it saves you time. It saves you time. So then you've got Hootsuite, and then for video, if you want to make those quick sort of videos with typography, with the text flying in, and you maybe want to use a graphic, because those have gotten very popular, right? There's a really cool tool called Adobe Spark, and it's a web tool. You go on there, you load up your video, you load up your images, you set your text, and you get a full-blown video in seconds, which you can then upload to Facebook. So some really simple tools for anybody to use.
Okay, cool. So for persons who might want to brand themselves and get themselves out there, what is the best way that you can show persons who you are and share your value, what you're proposing to them? What is the best way to do that?
You know, a lot of young entrepreneurs come up to me and say, Rosh, as a young entrepreneur, people aren't giving me a chance. You know, people are just not listening to me. And my response to that is always, stop talking about your competence. The world is filled with enough talkers. What you want to do is you want to use social media to show your competence. Share your competence. That's what you want to do. So how do you do that? You do exactly what we just talked about. You whip out your phone, you create a video and say, hey guys, here's what I do, and here's how I do it. You start to show that you're coming from a place of credibility. You start to show that you have a mastery in this skill. So by teaching people about the very topic, they say, oh yeah, this guy knows what he's talking about. Maybe we should get in contact with him.
Yeah.
Because it's not that you're young, it's just that people don't know if you have the experience. People don't know if you've got the knowledge base. That's what it is. When you're able to show people that you can do this, and then you have social proof, and you've got credibility, and you make sure you get testimonials from your clients, either written testimonials, which you can showcase in images, or video testimonials that you can throw up on your page, all of a sudden people start to go, yeah, this guy knows what he's talking about, or this girl knows what she's talking about. And that's really how you start to convert over time individuals from going from being a viewer to then being a customer.
Great, that's so cool. A really good answer. Now, for entrepreneurs, there are a lot of young people who aspire to be successful entrepreneurs, but they might think, you know what, I don't have the knowledge, I might not have a degree, and I lack resources, probably financially or so on. What would you advise to them? What would be your advice?
It comes back to one of the things I always say in the masterclass, which is it's not about your resources, but how resourceful you are. Okay? When I started Social Rank Media, I was a broke medical student. I literally had no money. I didn't get any money from any family. I didn't have a car to move around in. It was literally just trying to figure out what's out there at my disposal that I can use. And the biggest tool I had was Google. It was the biggest tool I had. And that's why I tell people these days that you really don't have an excuse anymore. If you don't know something, and you've come to me and you've said, Rosh, how do I tackle this? And I say, well, what did your research show? What'd you find? And they say, well, I didn't research it. That tells me maybe you're not as interested as you think. Maybe you're interested more with the end goal and the dream as opposed to the work that has to be put in to get there. Because some people fall in love with the dream, but not the work that you've got to put in to get to the dream. And that, I think, is the ultimate resource. The ultimate resource is knowledge, and we have access. If you're watching this video right now, then you have access. You're watching this on YouTube, or any social media platform you decide to put this on. Which means that individual has a smartphone or access to a computer. And if they have that, then they have the world at their fingertips. So it's going to come down to, well, not just having the knowledge, but using the knowledge. It was Stephen Covey who said, to know and not do is to not know at all. Right? And really that's what wisdom is, right? Wisdom is not just knowing, but actually putting things into action. It's having that experience. So reach out to individuals in your network who've been there and done that. That's where you gain knowledge, right? Reach out to people online. Just you'd be surprised at how open and responsive people are to just a comment, to just, a message. I always tell the story about when I listened to the owner of Craigslist give a speech. And those speeches that really move you? This was one of them. And it really moved me. And I decided, you know what? I'm going to go find this guy on Facebook. So I typed his name in. There he was on Facebook. I sent him a friend request, and I sent him a message. 5 minutes later, he responded. 60 minutes later, we were in full-blown conversation. Until today, we're connected as friends, and that one relationship has gone on to introduce me to so many other individuals. All right? So we may live in Guyana, but the way I continuously connect with individuals around the world is just understanding that Facebook has removed the barriers. There's no longer 6 degrees of separation. Right? It's less than 5 now. Maybe it's approaching 4. And in a few years, it may go down to 3 or 2. The degrees of separation are gone, and we have social media to thank for that. It's up to us as individuals to use the tools, to use the resources, all the free information out there on blogs. Steve Jobs talks about just picking up the phone and calling people and asking them questions.
People don't do that anymore.
No, we don't do that. We don't do that. I can't tell you how I admire individuals who come to my office, they knock on my door and they want to see me. It wasn't a planned meeting. It wasn't an appointment, but you could sense that hustle. You could sense that drive. And they're here because, Rosh, I've tried everything. I don't know what to do. I need some help. Help me figure out my numbers. Help me figure out my strategy. And those guys are hungry. If they're knocking on your door, they're hungry. So for all the aspiring entrepreneurs listening out there, understand that Facebook and Instagram and all these things, yes, it's a tool to have fun, but it's also a tool to extend your reach. It's also a tool to go out there and increase your network and to be able to tap into those networks. But the important thing is not to just request. The important thing is to be able to give first.
Yes, add value
Add
first.
value first. Always have a value first
Yes.
approach. Always. And you'd be shocked at what you get in return.
This is great. Thank you, Rosh, so much. I'm sure all of yours find a lot of value in what was said, and I hope that wish you all the best and success and so on. And for those who might want to get in contact with you, do you mind sharing your socials
Sure.
and so on?
Sure. So Ruth, before I even do that, I just want to say thank you so much.
Great.
It's been awesome being part of this and participating in your venture. I think you've been doing phenomenal work in Guyana and spreading what we do here in Guyana out to the world, and just want to congratulate you on what you do.
Thank you.
And for any individuals who want to connect, you can connect personally on my Facebook profile, facebook.com/archon.med. You can connect with me on my fan page, facebook.com/Dr. Dr. Rosh Khan. And if anyone wants to email, it's rosh@socialrankmedia.com.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you guys for watching. Remember, this was Pocket of Inspiration. Stay true to yourself, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.